All right, we're getting ready to go live here. It is approximately 6:10, and so I want to let everybody know that we're right here. And let's give everybody our link, and we'll get the show started. I wanted to record this. For some reason, everything is just off again, so we're going to pop this through right now. Give a direct link so that people could find me. And all right, we're on here live, and we may have a few people join us this evening. I have a slight sore throat, but I'm going to attempt to do this show. I did promise some people I'd be on roughly about 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time today, and this is the only time I'm going to come on about this time right now. Next week, I might come on earlier during the day, and we want to make sure that we have some things here for everybody to be able to have an opportunity to get back into the swing of things with my Circle of Grace 1 work. And one of the things I'm going to share are some highlights from my hard copy newsletter called The Grace Keys. And the Grace Keys are a subscription that will be sent to your home every 2 months, and it costs roughly $9 for a 1 year subscription of 6 issues. So before we get started, I want to open up with a basic prayer. Through divine power and by divine grace, for anyone that's going to listen to this evening's show, may they be blessed in more ways than one, and may they find exactly what they're looking for and be able to take all of this information and use it at a way that's very prospering for themselves. And so here I am this evening. I've been really struggling with my throat, and so it is. I know the universe is going to bring a special message out. We might make this show run a minimum of 30 minutes, a maximum of 90 minutes. It will depend on just how strong my throat's going to be. And I want to make sure people will be able to tune in and listen. Now, you won't be able to contact me through Skype because I've kind of put that on hold for tonight, so I can just flat out do this material. Now, also, what I want people to be able to get as well is an opportunity to come in and maybe ask a question. So I'm going to put forth a little chat room here so I could see it. And if anybody comes in now, basically, as before, anybody that wanted to come through Twitter or Facebook, you usually have to have a Ustream account. So you may have to set one up in order to participate in the chat. But if you're already on Facebook or already on Twitter, you could go through that and click and be right there on the page and actually chat. So you may have an opportunity to do that. So I'm just going to leave a greeting here, and then we're going to get started with some material, and I may talk about a lot of different things. So I want people to be aware that they could interact with me this evening. And I'm expecting, at the height of tonight, that we'll have this opportunity. So, looking forward to it. Excuse me, my voice has been a little tight, and I can see it's about to act up. Got some hot tea here to help me out. and we're going to see how this is going to manifest and materialize. So one of the things I want to let people know that as they pop in and connect with me, they have this opportunity to ask questions. Again, if you have a Ustream account, as the olden days, you'd have your own account, and then you could, find me here and interact. So what we're going to do is talk about first the power of numbers. And the last two shows I did here was last week was the destiny number, numbers 1 through 9. Then I also did um, before that the show before that was I believe on the second, and that was a show that entailed personal year numbers 1 through 9. So what I want to do tonight is talk about the angle of destiny. And what is that? Well, sometimes people always have asked me, Bishop or Brother Francis, what do you mean by the angle of destiny, especially when I'm teaching a numerology class? Well, the angle of destiny is when you look at the Pacific calendar day that you're born on, and you add that number to what is called your destiny number, which is when you have all the numbers added up together. Your birth month number, your birthday number, which is the calendar date number, and your birth year. Now, if you've watched previous shows, I've said that one of the things is you don't want to let the two digits in the front, the 19, if you're born in the era of 1900, so 1900 to 1999, and those who have children born in 20 whatever, were born in 2000 or 21 or 2001 or 2003 or 2010 or 2013. So you don't want to leave the 19 off nor the 20 off, because if you leave those two digits out, that's the constant number that helps root in the birth year for that individual in your family or someone that you know. Or maybe you're looking at, starting a business, so you want to know the character vibration of the business. What is its root foundation? Its root is actually in the year, the birth year itself. That's actually the deepest part of the root. Or if you might want to say, the deepest part of the root, but that is the part that's going to allow you to shift into a higher awareness for yourself. So if you're looking at how that birth year comes in, you're looking at the birth month, the birthday, the birth year. And that's going to be very important because you have those three individual cycles in. Again, you have the birth month, the birthday, the birth year. And each one of them allows you to have, let's say, like a kickoff point. For instance, your birth month governs you for the first 28 years on the planet. So that's a minor lesson in itself. Then the calendar day, which is your birthday number, that introduces you to a second cycle of 28 years. And then the birth year, that introduces you to a third cycle. So you see, from birth time until about age 1, where you get a little bit more into who you are vibrationally, and that works for those first 28 years. Then you start at age 29, you get a second opportunity. And then if you add on another 28 years, age 57, you get a third opportunity. So you can imagine people who live beyond that 57, and you add on 28, that would give you, that would give you age 85. So you have then 4 distinctive cycles where you're learning lessons and moving forward. But in numerology, we kind of have it so that your birth year, which is the third cycle of your destiny number, is that strong root that carries itself out until you transition. Excuse me. So you're looking at these different ways or these different views of numerology, and all of them work. We're talking about the energy process that goes on here, of how these numbers are showing or defining and describing the energy. That's what it's doing. When you're looking at the astrological influences, that's describing the possibilities. It's not locking you in until that's the way it's going to be, but it kind of gives you something to kind of measure your opportunities and experiences when they express themselves, so it allows you to like leap forward and move yourself into a higher platform of understanding, you see. So I if you wanted to know, like, well, what do I do? See, this is what the angle of destiny is about. It gives you another way of viewing, like, well, if I'm born, let's take a person born, let's pick here our current president. Now, he's born August the 4th, 19, I believe 44. I believe that's the year that he was born in. And if that's the case, if he's born in 1944, well, excuse me, he's not born in 19, he's born really like 19, well, let me pick another person. I don't really have his birthday in mind, but let's pick someone that would be born March 16th, 1936. Picking an individual born March 16th, 1936. Because I forgot I didn't have, I think Obama's birth year is either 61 or 62. I wasn't sure, 67. I really didn't have them looked up here. But we're picking a person born March 16th, 1936. So when we're looking at this individual, what you'd have to do, all you got to do is find out what the person's life path number or destiny number is. So you add the 3 to the 6, and the 6 is 12, and 3, that's 15. You add the 1 to the 1 and the 3, that's 5. So the person's destiny year is 1955, which would make that person about age 19. But when you add the 1955 together, the destiny year together, it produces the number 20. And therefore their destiny number is a 20, which is a 2. The 2 means that the person learns about relationships and partnerships and how they work in their life. This would also work for a person born 1963. These same kind of numbers can produce something that can help them. So you take the life path number, which is a 20/2, you add that to the 16, which is a 7, and you're going to produce the number 36 again, which is a 9. So what we're looking at is, how does the person use the calendar day birthday number in conjunction with their destiny number. Their destiny number is the major lesson in life that they're learning about. And so you want to know then, the birthday number lets you know what kind of skills they arrive on the planet with, basically, as well as the birth month. The birth month and the birthday and the birth year kind of gives a hint of the skills that they have that make up the life path or destiny number. So really, even though the destiny number is the overall major lesson for that person, what you have, basically, it's split into 3 categories. Okay? The birth month, birthday, birth year. Then you see how it produces itself. So people ask, well, if I've come to learn about partnerships, and the 20 is the number of transformation, rebirth, and regeneration. So if I'm learning how to transform myself through relationships, what does that have to do with the birthday number that I'm born on? Well, the nature of the 16 is to make sure you don't have things blow up in your face. The nature of the 16 is you don't abuse sexual power. You have sexual energy, so you don't abuse it. You don't misuse it. You don't mistreat it. You respect the energy. You don't let yourself fall into triangular relationships or relationships of the past or any form of addiction. So here, the strongest side of that 16 is the power of one's intuition, to really follow the spirit, what the spirit is telling you to do. Spirit of your higher self, your soul consciousness, is telling you to do. Your energy of divinity has a certain signature within you, and you're moving forward with that. So if you've got a life path or destiny number that's a 22, 20, which is a 2, it means you're able to transform, override the lower energies of what a relationship. In other words, what are the lower energies of relationships with people? Ego. Somebody might be egocentric, or which means they can get to be very selfish, or they can get to be very controlling, very manipulative. Okay, they might understand details, but yet again, all of a sudden throw the details out the window, facts and figures about how things come to be. Maybe the person can be cold-hearted. That's another sign, person being very cold-hearted. So, in the terms of relationship energy, how do I make that 2 work? If that's someone's life path or destiny number, how do they make it work? The root digit says you pay attention to the finer points of the relationship. What appears to be small is really significant. You pay attention to the little things, so to speak, quote unquote, the little things. But when you have that nature of the 20 there, that 20 means you'll be transformed through your experiences of relationships, how you get along to other people, how you communicate with them, how you become more harmonic in the situation through pattern relationship. Are you a person that keeps your word? Are you a person that tells the truth? Are you a person that is loyal in a relationship? Maybe you have a relationship with friends that you get along with very well. How are you treating your friends? Maybe you have a business partner. How are you and the business partner connecting? Are you really connecting, or you're at odds with each other? Are you letting petty things stand in the way? Or is it when people are talking, are they being sarcastic toward each other rather than being emotionally sensitive toward each other? In other words, the emotions are the energy that you put out. So are you paying attention to how you feel about the person or feel about the situation? So here's where your 16 comes in, because the 16 is a karmic number, meaning you had to learn some lessons, or you came with some lessons to be qualified. The nature of 16 is the 6. Pay attention. The vibration, the root single digit, a part of the 16 is the 6. So pay attention to how the effective community or family works in your life. Are you a good caretaker? Are you one who can give as well as receive? Then you have the 10, the root compound number of the 16. Are you open? See, do you have a consciousness that deals with trust, reliability, dependability, faith? Or are you being a needy person? So the nature there of that 10 with the 6 means make sure you're not a needy individual. Make sure you're becoming more self-sufficient. So now you add the 10 to the 6, you get 16, and 1 plus 6 is 7. So the 7 says don't be just somebody caught up in the dreams. Because you get caught up in the dreams, then you begin to fantasize, and you begin to fantasize, and you lose all track. You get yourself off track. You want to create. Remember, you're creating your path, or creating along your path. Now, the 7 is basically a loner. 7 is really not one who. That doesn't mean the 7 can't get along in a relationship. The nature of the number 7 person, the energy of it, that 16 is, they've been involved in many different kinds of relationships. And some of those relationships have been power oriented. They might deal with powerful figures, people who are very outspoken, or people who have power on the feeling, sensitive side, psychic side. And that 16 is a power energy, because that's like the Kundalini energy. So are they using the Kundalini or the Chi or the pranic energy properly in order to be more expressive and more creative? Let me wet my throat a little bit. So the nature of the 16, which is the 7. Now, how do these two numbers really work together? This is the power behind the birthday number and the destiny number. If you understand the birthday number and the destiny number, you add them together. When you add them together, you get a 9 vibration. So what is that 9 vibration? Well, the 9 vibration, the most important thing is to stay clear of arguments. And if you find yourself in heated arguments, make sure that you don't let that energy build up into a grudge and linger around you. That's not good. Also, with the nature of the 9, you have to make sure that you're open-minded. In other words, you can receive thoughts from other people without judging them, without making some type of assumption about them. And you have to remain open-hearted. So you got to make sure that you feel open in your heart, so that unconditional what? You can accept the person unconditionally. You can accept the person not only unconditionally, but you can love them unconditionally. In other words, you can love the person just the way they are without trying to change them. Because in the meantime, you're working on yourself so that you can vibrate with the individual and not be against them. So that's how the angle of destiny works. I mean, your direction. The angle is what direction or what view are you choosing to take, or what road are you choosing to take, so that what you're learning, which is you're learning relationships, and you're learning that you'll transform in a relationship. So what else has to transform, or what else has to be elevated? Well, your consciousness has to be elevated in a relationship. So if your consciousness has to be elevated, that's where the vibration of the 7. 7s can be self-sufficient. 7s can be loners. You know, they choose to travel alone, but yet they're connected. They could plug into any specific group or personalities to deal with or network with, and have their consciousness impacted and raised, as well as impact someone else's consciousness. So this is how that would work. Well, let's say you have a person, since we have a double-digit destiny, maybe you know someone who's born in 1977. How many people know someone born in 1977? So if you know somebody that's born in a birth year that has a double-digit master number in it, that means that that person sometimes will have this desire to change their mind. In other words, they'll make a decision, but the decision won't really be firm or rooted because they're not sure how they want to carry that decision out a little further. So sometimes they will change their mind in the course of their actions. They will change their mind. In other words, they'll take a completely different spin on it, a completely different look at it, and they will respond accordingly. So when you see double digits, the double digits means that people can be either fence sitters, or they could be in the middle, in the mix of activity, and make adjustments. So if you got a master number, which is a 77, the 7 in the thought process and the 7 in the emotional process. So what's happening here is the person is striving to clear the way they think and clear the way they feel, and try to stay out of the past, try to recognize themselves as an old soul quality. They have old soul energy, but they have to balance that old soul energy. And they also have to learn how to use the spiritual nature so that it's very wholesome and helpful, not only to themselves, but everybody around them. Now, if you add the double 7s together, you produce 14, which is what? They have to have moderation and balance so they can harmonize. And that will allow them to maintain a sense of freedom, which is 5, and allow them to have critical analysis at the same time, and also allows them to be able to communicate clearly and quickly, and to access information, absorb it, and digest it very quickly. But you got the 19 there. You got that number 19 sitting there. And so that's the constant that changes the whole, what I've just basically. So what you have is a person born in 1977 has what? The double sevens produce a 14, which is a 5. So if double sevens is 14, and 19 is 1 plus 9 is 10. So 10, 14 is 24. So you got somebody here born in 1977 is really like an administrator. In other words, they become a good teacher. They become a good healer. They're able to heal themselves or balance themselves, create wholeness for themselves, as well as everyone else in their life. They're able to impact that person. So here we're talking about a person born in 1977. And what I've told you about it, that birth year is already producing a 24, which is a 6. So this is ideal. That means at some point in their life, they may attract somebody who's born on a 24 or a 6 or a 15, which is a 6. That means a day number. Or they might attract somebody who has that destiny life path number too, because when they do that, that will make their position more solidified. It will strengthen their character. Now here's something else. So let's say this person born in 1977 is born in the 9th month, and we'll pick a compound number. We'll pick a compound number such as 15. So this is a Virgo person, Virgo, and their birth key numbers here are the 6, because the 15 is a 6, and then they have the 5 for the sign Virgo that they come under. And Virgo, like Gemini, ruled by Mercury, so they would have the 652 quality. Their system means they would already know how to work or conduct themselves through relationships. 24 says they know how, over a period of time, how to conduct themselves through family settings. The family is something they would like to have. Now they have that 9. And in that first 28 years of their life, having the 9 vibration, they would have to learn how to be stronger. A stronger person emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. They'd have to learn how to keep their minds open. Again, make no assumptions, make no prejudgments of people, but learn how to fend for themselves with the 9 and use every possible talent that they have and turn it into a skill. Now this is very unique because you got the 15, which is a 6 birthday number, and you have the birth year, which is a 6, right? So the 15 and the 6 is a 39, or 6 and 6 is 12, and 9 plus 12 is 21. So their life path number is a 3. Now with the life path number of a 3, what is that going to tell you? Well, they're here to be creative. They're here to have discipline and understand what discipline is. It's an odd number. 1s, 3s, 5s, 7s, and 9s. Destiny numbers are the kind, the people have to learn how to be very dependent, very articulate, being able to take care of themselves. Where you have an even number destiny number, you're here and you're letting people take care of you to get, in other words, to build your energy up. So like I said before, if you have a 1 destiny, you got to learn how to overcome your ego, not be selfish, and how to work along, how to be an original thinker, innovative thinker, how to be independent. In other words, discover who you are. That's what the number 1 destiny. Number 2 destiny is discover who you are through the gift of partnerships and relationships. The number 3 destiny is discover through your heart who you are through not only relationships but relatives, aunts and uncles, parents, especially siblings. The 4 is how you create a strong foundation from that, how you maintain order in your life. 5 is how to maintain freedom in your life and adapt to any given situation or personality, as well as to be inquisitive, wanting to learn, because 3s and 5s love to learn. Then you got the 6 is how to be harmonious in a family setting or community. 7 is how to step out of that and go deeper into yourself, to understand your soul signatures, how you're made up soul-wise, spirit-wise. 8 is to step back and respect your elders and deal with tradition. And 9 is how to complete everything. So having this, the person has a 3. So if the person has a 3 destiny, what do they have to do? 3 means they have to open themselves up to seek wisdom, seek understanding, seek knowledge. Make learning a fun experience. Have self-discipline, to be focused. That's very important. The 3 wants to be a focused individual. You have a 3 life path number is you got to get down to the brass tacks. You got to learn everything. And then you got to learn how to relate that to your siblings, your relatives, your parents, and your friends. That's the essential thing when you're on a 3 destiny. You want to understand that. And the 3 is childlike or youthful in that sense of the word. 3 is a very youthful kind of quality. And it talks about trying to expand your awareness, expand your platform. So it's a socialization number, really. And 3 is going out and meeting people. So if you have people, in the first 3 or 4 numbers, you're really learning the beginning stages of things. And if you're from the 5 vibration up, you already got that. You're looking for something bigger, a bigger pie, bigger piece of the pie. Now, if the person's destiny number had a 12 behind it, the 12, which means that they would be open and very sensitive to everybody that's on their path. The 12 would mean make sure they're not making themselves a martyr along the way. In other words, don't become a victim along the way. If it was a 21 that was back in the 3, the person would come to the table with more wisdom, and they would really find themselves around elders who have a lot of life experience and who don't cut themselves off from the bigger picture. Meaning they have a more conscious concept of the world at large and how they fit into it. And if the person had a 30 back in the 3 destiny, then that means that not only the person can relate to people older than themselves, but they can go within themselves and take that personal journey, that spiritual journey about the 3. So they would learn about themselves, how they connect emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually in the world, and be able to come forward and express those teachings, things that they've learned within their life. Now, how does that relate to the person's birthday number? And here I said they're born September 15th, 1977. So if the person's born on the 15th is sort of like a Capricorn number. So that person is attracted to people also much older than themselves, people that are a little bit more solid. But the nature of the 15 sometimes will want to switch back and forth. The 15 is a 6, so it's like a Saturn energy in the background with a Venusian energy out front. 15s, they are the individuals who could go out into the world. If you have a child born on the 15th of any given month, they love to be in the public eye. They love to connect with members of the opposite sex. They will have all kind of conversations going on. Sometimes they have to make sure, though, 15s have to make sure that they have very good self-esteem and see themselves in the right way. If not, what happens is the nature of the 15 can become abusive or manipulators. They like to control everybody that's around them. And also the nature of 15, they can get too much out there, be too much out there with other people, and not with their family, not with their friends, not connecting enough with a home base because they want to be out and about. So here's another thing. So we take this 15, which is a 6, and add this to the 3 destiny number, is going to produce what? An 18, which is a Pisces influence, the dreamer. Person's got to clarify what's in the unconscious state and the conscious state and the subconscious state. Unconscious, subconscious, and consciousness. 3 levels there of the 18. Also, they have to avoid having dreams that sometimes replicate experiences where they were victims or they were suffering. They also have to make sure that they're not doing the same to others. That 18 vibration. 1 plus 8 is 9. So the person will find themselves either struggling to be at the top, or recognize they're already at the top, or recognize they have good people around them that can help them get to the top in their life. In other words, to become more successful. So what is the nature of that 9? The angle of destiny means as long as the person is allowing themselves to be more of a humanitarian, have high ideals, and can see the possibilities of these ideals, in other words, to be practical, then they'll be successful. Let me get a little more. T. So what we're saying here is it's highly important for people to understand where they're going in their lives. Now, again, when you're using numerology, numerology is the shorthand of astrology. Both sciences, metaphysical sciences, can give you an overall awareness of how a situation could come about, or how a situation can cause you to graduate or fall back. In other words, not move forward. So what you want to be able to do with whether you're using numerology, astrology, the tarot, palmistry, handwriting analysis, Christology, you don't want to excuse me, get locked into anything. You just want to remember these are awarenesses, feelings that you yourself could take and move into a higher level of awareness, of being consciously aware, not just, in a dream state and not sure, not being unconscious, but being highly conscious, highly aware. And I always like to say, we have to pay attention to what we are aware of and what we do remember that we are aware of. Because we're seeing and receiving information. You're sensitive. You're picking up feelings and things all the time. So you want to be able to what? You want to be able to plug into that energy, understand it, and make it work for yourself, and not feel like you're lagging behind the energy. You don't want to feel like you're lost. So this is also essential to your well-being. So that's the tidbit I wanted to give you on the power of numbers, which is numerology. Numerology is the shorthand of astrology, and I've been doing numerology, I've been awakened to it since 1974. So I've been studying numerology as far back as then. And I've done maybe, I don't know, probably about 30,000 different charts and analysis and forecasts in different ways. But some people like to get a month-to-month yearly forecast. Some people like to just get it for a 3-month period. Some people like to get it for a 6-month. Remember, nothing is written in stone. Numbers, like astrology, is describing the energy around you, how it may appear or not appear, and what you need to pay attention to so you don't get lost in the translation, in the discernment of this energy as you take it in, how you perceive it, and how you choose to use it. So these are the things that you want to always be aware of, because that's highly important to yourself. And as you are doing this, it will allow you to feel better about yourself. So one of the things I wanted to bring out here in my most recent issue, the Grace Keys. The Grace Keys are like a hard copy printout of a newsletter. Comes out every 2 months. Actually, this one governs you from December into January. So this is something that you can definitely work with, you see, because it's giving you 2 months of information right up front. So I'm going to just share a tidbit. And what I want to share with you is how things can work with you so that you know what you can do and how to move along. So I'm just going to give you December's energy. December 2013 showcases the numerical influences of the 3 and 8. Why? Because you're going to have people influenced by Jupiter, which are Sagittarians born in December, and people influenced by Saturn, which are Capricorns born in December, respectively. So you're going to have these two natural elements from the 3 and the 8, giving you Jupiter and Saturn and the elements of fire and earth, respectively. So how will you see this in a year of the 2013, which is a master number 33? Because the master number 33, they call it the Christ number, which is really when you are stepping into your spiritual awareness on a much higher level, when you start acknowledging your divine essence that's inside of you, that allows you to graduate into different levels of understanding. So we see here, if we take this master number 33 and add it to December, the month, we'll see that is expression of 45-9 vibration, which is 45, the number 40, the number 5, and the number 9. So what does this give you? Well, the 40 represents purity, purity through deep remembrance. In other words, you go into a state of meditation and you're calling forth infinite degrees of information that can help you prosper more abundantly, help you have greater wellness and wholeness with yourself, greater acceptance, right? Because this is a universal acceptance. This is a unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. And we all have a desire to remember what our truth is about ourselves. In other words, who we are. So you're here to use this entire month to do what? To simplify things so that you can remember your truth, which is highly important to you right now. You want to know who you are and where you're going, basically. The nature of the 5 comes in here. And 5 means to adjust, adapt, and move forward at the same time, but swiftly communicate your ideas with clarity, greater clarity, and do everything with clarity. In other words, you don't want to have yourself feeling muddy. You don't want to be not able to express yourself to someone clearly. You don't want to have your emotions and your mind in a state of clutter. So, and we all are going through that. I got state of clutter around me, which also means sifting through, filtering through things. Sometimes we all hold on to too many things. We don't release enough things. We don't share enough, really. That's what it means. You're not sharing enough, or you're not sharing what you have with someone else who could probably use what you have, but you've kind of outgrown. Then you have the nature of the 9. Well, that's the outcome, the final digit, right? Because it's a 45/9. So 9 is learning always to see the bigger picture for the highest good of all, to see the bigger picture. Remember that if you reach for the impossible, everything becomes possible. That was a phrase that came to me way back in the 80s about the number 9. I was creating affirmations back then. So one of the affirmations for the 9 was, reach for the impossible. That way you get all the possibilities lined up. So something that appeared to be impossible, appeared to be out of reach, would therefore bring up all the other things around you that are possible to receive. So here's another side of what the word impossible. Well, the word impossible has 2 words in it, or maybe 3, but it has possible and it has I am. So I without the apostrophe means I am possible. In other words, the presence of who you are, having a divine nature, makes all things possible. Because the divinity part of you is infinite. And if you understand that you're an infinite being, You express infinity in as many points as possible and beyond your awareness, your level of understanding. So you're this infinite personality, not limited by anything. Therefore, you don't live by limits. You don't have any limits to live by, except the ones that you may place upon yourself. So what would be a further 2 words? What would be the 2 words that can help you comprehend December? Well, you're either going to expand or do the opposite, which is contract. It's not a matter of one or the other because both are needed. So you expand, like inhale. Exhale, you contract. And this is a process that you're doing all the time. Inhaling and exhaling. Expanding, contracting. When you're expanding, you're doing what? You're absorbing. You're taking things into view, taking things into your surroundings, bringing things into your life. And when you contract, you're not necessarily just always pushing something out that you no longer need. You're actually sharing. So you're sharing on an inhalation and you're sharing on the exhalation because you're what? Issuing. So symbolically then, Saturn is really not a planet that pushes away. It's really including everything. Jupiter is including everything. Saturn is including everything. It's all inclusive. No one is left out. Only thing that changes is what? Your outlook. Your conscious awareness of your outlook changes. How you choose to absorb or take in changes. How you choose to be selective changes. So this is what you are allowing yourself to realize. So you have this innate natural wisdom to draw on your personal foundation and make it larger. So what you're remembering is that you're creative at all times. You're allowing yourself to connect with a divine source of who you truly are at all times. Therefore, you're coming out of that. You're acting. You're expanding and what? Contracting. You're pushing out. In other words, like the mother contracts what to push the child out of the womb into this bigger process, this bigger energetic field. So here are some affirmations, a basic affirmation followed by a basic decree. This is for December, I now affirm, meaning when you say that I affirm, you are solidifying truth for yourself. You're understanding that this is true for you. Now anything that you hear here, you don't have to accept it. This is just a program of teachings that I'm releasing out here to people. Maybe you meditated on it a little bit more and find out what you can get from it. So the affirmation for December 2013 is, I now affirm that I know how to adjust to life and communicate freely with others in my life. So that means what? You are expanding your awareness, your conscious awareness of life, and you're adjusting to it. And you're further adjusting to the people in your life. What's the decree? A decree is the absolute truth without any reservation. Meaning it is what it is, and you understand once you state it, it comes into being. So the decree for December 2013. I decree that I know enough how to maintain freedom for myself. That means you're open enough to know that you need to know more. I decree that I remember I am free to remain as I am or change my attitude and outlook on my life. You're free to remain stuck if you think that's where you need to be, or you're free to what? Expand and move forward. So the affirmation is, I now affirm that I know how to adjust to life and communicate freely with others in my life. But the decree expands that. And the decree says, I decree that I know enough how to maintain freedom for myself. And I decree that I remember. So you're calling up the vibration from within that you already know this affirmation, and you already know this as a decree, that you're free, you got free will to remain in the current outlook and attitude or change it. Now we see in creation there are constant cycles of change. Even when something is appearing to stand still amongst the stars, it really isn't. There's some minute, infinite changes going on that eventually will pulsate out and get larger, and the waves will get bigger than you see it. But they're already going on. Now, also at the same time, I put some meanings behind some gemstones here. And these are bits of information that came to me so that people can utilize, and just give you a basic tidbit of this, something that you can use. Again, this is when I meditated and what Spirit gave for me to release here. The gemstones for December, which are like keynote vibrations that you can utilize. Because any gemstone, there's gemstones that ruled Pacific month, you want astrologically, but these are some that came into being that are expressing themselves. Lapis lazuli, or people would call it lazuli. Lapis lazuli. That's Lapis and then Lazuli. What is lapis? What does it look like? Well, lapis is that blue stone that has what? Gold streaks, like mica running through it. That's lapis lazuli, and a little white in it. So lapis means you will attract positive spiritual connections. That means if the energy of it reminds you that you could draw that, you can carry it on your body and it will enhance that. So you can what? Attract positive spiritual connections and communicate well with spirit. So what does that mean? Well, spirit, the essence of spirit around you, either is divine energy, or there might be the angelic forces there. It might be your ancestral guides there. It might be some other energies that are not yet on the same level that you're on. And there might be others that are even higher than that. So it allows you to discern what kind of spirit energy is around you. And what's helping you get to the helm of your own life. The helm is the top, the front part of the ship. Then there's amethyst. And amethyst means your dreams and visions are protected as they come through the eternal divine source. So you got dreams and messages, visions coming to you from the divine source, the mind and spirit and heart of divine source to you, and you're a part of that. So the minute that the divine source bursts this activity, you could feel the presence of it within yourself. You begin to perceive the energy of that inside yourself. So you're able to move forward. So Lapis says you're going to attract positive spiritual connections. You have the ability to do that. And then communicate and discern and identify with the nature of the spirit that's at the helm of your life, that's helped guiding you there. Then amethyst says, well, look now at the dreams and visions that come through, that are coming forth, that are being birthed out of the eternal divine source. Eternal divine is infinite source. You're part of the infinite source. You're a thought and an expression of it. You're a feeling and a sensitive subatomic, atomic, and molecular structure of it. You're holographic. You're a part of it. So that means that whatever the divine is putting forward, is putting forward in you at the same time. And what's the last? Because it means that the energies of the amethyst work well in calming your nervous system and enhances your overall well-being. So the third one here is a snowflake obsidian. You've seen obsidian. It's like the lavic energy. It usually comes, we see it as black, shiny black, okay, when it's polished up and it has white flecks up in it. Well, this means this obsidian or snowflake obsidian is the universal purity of oneness, meaning that which was born in the darkness of the womb, which is the black, and is able to what? Draw down the light into it. So that's why you see what looks like little snowflake patterns. So that means the universal purity of oneness shall always draw more wisdom to you and remind you that you have come to master yourself and not others. So what are you doing in December? You're recognizing the opportunity to expand your life and share what you have learned with others. And you're here to remind yourself it's all about self-mastery. You master yourself, then you can assist others. You clear yourself, you can assist others to clear themselves. You balance yourself, you can help others to balance themselves. So if you love yourself, you will learn to love others. It's not about, you see, in the third dimensional consciousness, it's about being tolerant. But if you're just being tolerant, sometimes we're still being a little too picky because we're being tolerant of a situation. So we have to get to the point where there's total acceptance. At some point, we want to realize that either we blend and gel or we don't. But where you don't blend and gel, that's where the healing process takes place. There's plenty of healing where you're already gelling and uniting, but where there isn't, where there's a so-called road of difficulties, emotionally and mental difficulties, verbally you can't get along, you got barbs at each other. That's where the healing needs to take place. So sometimes what has to happen is it's more than just communication. See, what it really is going inside yourself. When you go inside yourself, you see what your real energetic motives would be. If you could go inside yourself, either you're angry or not, but if you're angry, you want to quell the anger. You want to embrace it. You want to understand why you're angry. And then what you find is you might discover that you're angry about things you don't have to be angry about. Or you might be afraid of something. You might find out you don't have anything to be afraid about. Even the Master Sananda in his day, as Jesus walked around and says, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. Silver Mind Method teaches, the late Jose Silva brought the Silver Mind Method. What's the Silver Mind Method? False expectations appearing real. That's what he would teach. So you're expecting something to be real, but you haven't gotten to the bridge. You haven't gotten to the point of having the experience. You didn't experience it yet. So fear sometimes, which is the exact opposite of love, fear brings a whole lot of things to the table that you don't even need to be dealing with, need to be worrying about. Because it hasn't happened yet. And what we're learning is the more energy we place on something in our lives, the more energy, the more attention you lay into that energy, the more that energy festers and begins to draw into itself similar thoughts, similar feelings, similar experiences. So some people will realize, well, they didn't realize yet that they created a situation because they kept putting their mind on it. It didn't happen yet, but you kept putting your mind on it, therefore created a situation. You created a situation. Now that situation begins to fester. Or likewise, maybe there's someone out there that likes to, since this state has a lot of them, casinos, and a person is constantly focusing their energy that they're going to go to a certain casino at a certain time. And, excuse me, just a minute. They're going to go to a certain casino at a certain time while they can feel the rhythm. When the person can feel the rhythm building up, what are they feeling? They're feeling a level of sensitivity. They're feeling the essence of the energy that's becoming crystallized. So one knows a little bit about biorhythms. You figure out your biorhythms. Some people have the mental biorhythm connect with the emotional biorhythm. In other words, when you're feeling great, mentally and emotionally, they feel what? Electrified, that they can connect. Some people will have the physical nature, feeling great and feeling strong, and the emotional energy running through it, which is the magnetic side. And what? They will feel that they can reach right into the energy feel and get what they want. And that's a good thing. Maybe one day I'll do a little extra research and we'll talk about biorhythms. Because when you can see your pattern, understand your pattern of energy, you'll notice when certain things come upon your path, certain opportunities that you're more open to as opposed to others. And again, you're not necessarily ruled by these things. These are just descriptions of energy that we're working with. So this information called the Grace Keys, volume 1, issue number 3, December 2013, running into January 2014. This hard copy, this goes to your house. Once you step into it, pay for it. Well, if you like to know how to get one of these, I can mail it to your home. Why don't you just simply contact me at IAM, letters IAM dot circleofgrace1 @yahoo.com or IAM.circleofgrace1 @gmail.com or Bishop Francis at BISHOPFRANCIS at circleofgrace with the number 1 at the end.net. You can always call me on my Skype number, 973-685-5978. Well, thanks so much for coming out and watching this. We got on a little late. My throat is still a little rough. We came on at about 6:10. We've been on a little over an hour right now. Almost 61 minutes show. I'm not going to continue this. I'm going to let my throat further rest up. But for those of you who enjoyed the show, you can watch this. I'm going to download it over to my Circle of Grace 1 channel on YouTube. And you'll see it there for as long as I leave it there. But thank you very much for tuning in. For anybody that watched it live, thank you so much. And again, if you want to watch this show, I'll be back next Monday. I'm planning to come back next Monday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's really the normal time for me to bring out my channel here for Circle of Grace 1 on Ustream TV. I want to thank you again. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing, as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. See you here next week. I'll be here at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. This is the Circle of Grace 1. Circle of Grace 1 was founded on July 2nd, 1999 AD under the aegis and the anointing of the Angel of Grace through divine providence. He gave birth to his very own spiritual and metaphysical institute called the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance. And I like to unite them together. The Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance came into being on February 7, 2009 AD. Well, the Circle of Grace 1 is the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance. And I'm the host, Chief Principal Teacher, Founder, and Bishop of both, Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. Again, see you next time. And again, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. See you soon. I'll be here next week, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you so much.